Good morning. How the devil are you? I hope you're well. I hope you're good. How's your weekend been so far? Well, I think Saturday night got ruined for a lot of people. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. It's Sunday. It's 10 a.m. So it's time for the famous Foxes Aftermath show run by the fans for you fans out there. And I know what? Your opinion really does matter, especially in these circumstances at the minute. So come on, let's get going. Get them comments in.
Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Are you ready for the show? Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. We want your views, we want your comments, so join us live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Councillor says, morning, Jamie. Where do we start? Yes, where do we start? Saw a few hellos on the intro then. Morning, Nick. How the devil are you? Dean, how the devil are you? I hope you're well. Let's get your comments in about today. Jason, morning, pal. How are you? Yes, I might sound too cheerful, but I'm not really cheerful, as you can see by the black top I've got on, in a bit of a somber mood. Mr. Six Hitter, hope you're well. Craig, I hope you're good. Well, we've got another guest on today, another Leicester City fan that works in the media. Jamie Thorpe, a freelance broadcaster that knows his stuff about Leicester. You've probably seen him on TalkSport, BT Sports, but he's going to give us the lowdown on Leicester. So let's bring Jamie in. Morning, Jamie. How are you, pal?
Morning. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. This is going to get a bit confusing. Jamie and Jamie. I hope the other really doesn't come on. That'll be 3 Jamies then. It'll be really confusing. We'll start. We won't talk about yesterday. I know that's going to be the main thing. But the season so far, pal, what's gone on? What's gone wrong? Or even what's gone right, if there is anything to say about right?
Yeah, I mean, what's gone right will be a short conversation. It's not been particularly good. I know Rogers warned that we were in for a bit of a season of pain in pre-season, but I don't think even he would have seen something like this coming. It's been a lurch from disaster to disaster, and I think the narrative and the language around Leicester's relegation chances is shifting dangerously close to they will go down rather than they could. And it just seems that we've had catastrophe after catastrophe and false dawn in terms of picking up a few results here and there, thinking, okay, we're back, we're doing better. And then all of a sudden you have a week like the one just gone and you seem not just back at square one, you've gone back 2 yards. So it's not been great. And I think that it'd be very interesting to see at the next home game the atmosphere, because I think that it could be slightly toxic. Might not be the right word, but it's certainly going to be negative.
Yeah, I wasn't actually at the game, and I turned it off as soon as the final whistle went. I saw Rob Tanner on Twitter put in that there was chance, not by a lot of them, but there was chance of we want Rogers out in the away fans. And I've always said that the away fans are like the core supporters because they travel home and away. They spent hundreds of quid travelling, and they're seeing performances like this. So,
yeah, you can't really blame them. I mean, they've made this, Southampton away is pretty arduous as away trips go. It's pretty much as far away as we can. And then they put in the noise levels from the Leicester fans yesterday was fantastic. Even in the times when we were struggling, when Southampton were on top for some reason, they kept it going. So then to lose in the manner that we did is, you can see the sense of frustration and you can completely understand it. It's just whether that translates into any reality that I'm not sure about. But they need to get that core group of fans behind them and give them something to cheer for, because ultimately we are so far in a relegation scrap now. We need every last bit of help that we can get.
But even on our watch-alongs yesterday and our post-match shows, people were saying we're not in a relegation battle. I don't know how people can say that. They've got to take those blue-tinted glasses off, put them to one side, and see the shit we're in. We are in a right mess, aren't we? I mean, if Colesberg did worse weekends, worse weeks, this would be one of the worst weeks, wouldn't it, for us?
Yeah, no, it certainly has been. I think that the reality is that the only reason that we're not in a significantly worse position is that other teams around us have been so poor. We are by the skin of our teeth staying out of the relegation zone because the likes of Southampton and Bournemouth have been so tragic almost at times this season. So we do need to, but we can't keep relying on other teams' results. They are going to go against us eventually. And losing that game yesterday was significant. I mean, we would have been in 12th had we won, 6-point cushion. Suddenly the atmosphere is very different. So to give Southampton that bit of hope as well could be very damaging. But they've got to show a recovery in the next game. Otherwise, I'm very concerned.
I mean, Southampton had only got 6 points at home all season. They've got a worse record than us at home all season, and we gave them 3 points yesterday. It's like Mark says yesterday, the comment here, Maddison's body language yesterday, when he got booked, his face looked so frustrated just at half time. I just don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on at the minute. I don't know what to say. I mean, I won't put you on. I'm a big Rodgers out, and I have been since November of 21 when we lost 3-0 to Chelsea at home. I've been a Rodgers out fan, if you call it. Since then, I've been lambasted on Twitter for it. Surely now things have got to change upstairs. I know Rodgers isn't blamed for everything. We can't blame him for the players missing the target, but surely things have got to change now, haven't they, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. You can't. If you look at the game yesterday as an example of our season, it does sort of sum it up quite neatly in that we started pretty well. We were playing some nice expansive stuff, lots of crossfield balls, quite brave in what we were trying to do. And then we have a bit of bad luck, goes against us with the handball. They missed the obvious, what I thought was an obvious sending off as well on Alcaraz. And then for some reason, we are so mentally fragile that they just implode and just have this 10-minute spell where we are just not at the races at all. And then they go behind, they struggle again, but then they do manage to create some chances and then just not take them. And I think Rodgers at this point has got to be stood there going, I don't really know what I can do here. I mean, Iheanacho's been in fantastic form and he couldn't hit a barn to a handful of rice. He was nowhere. and it was just, and that was it. We are, the margins are so fine at the moment. We are one person having a bad game away from winning a game or losing it. It is like that. If a key player doesn't turn up, and I think Mark raised a really good point about Maddison's body language, because first 30 where Leicester on top, he was purring. He was like doing all the things we know Maddison can do, running the show. And then when things went against us, I think the onus goes so far onto Maddison that he was trying too much and he was visibly frustrated. And it raised, I mean, sorry, I'm going to go on a little bit, but I hear something else that I was thinking during the game.
But people like hearing you more than me, pal.
Well, maybe not after this, but we'll see. I think what is quite telling is a lack of leadership within the squad. I think when you look at the team and the 11 that we put out yesterday, you've got very little seniority in it. You've got Maddison as captain, who I agree with, and I think he does genuinely care, and I think he is a good leader. But you look at the players that have been taken out of it. You know Schmeichel, no Evans, no Tielemans, who in reality is definitely a leader, no Vardy, Albrighton. And you do wonder who in that 11 is going to really grab the game, go right, grab the team and give them a bit of reason to get fighting and get stuck in. I mean, you look at Dewsbury Hall, great runner, quality deserted him when he really needed it every time yesterday. But he puts a lot of effort in. But is there anyone in the squad that you can look to and think they're going to carry us through what is quite a serious scrap? And I think that dearth of leadership is possibly going to cause us some problems as well.
It's like Chris Guthrie just says here, captains, we haven't got anyone. No one stands up. He totally agrees with you. We've had, I think it's 5 different captains in the Premier League this year. 5 different, and that doesn't bode well for when we had Wes Morgan as captain, Schmeichel as captain. We haven't got the leadership in that camp that can get them by the neck and tell him to pull up the socks, and put a performance in. And I don't think we've got the fight for a relegation battle. I can't see it in that team.
I mean, personality is so important in modern football, in having the right blend of characters. You need some people that are a bit more light-hearted, some guys are a bit more the professional, bringing it to training, making sure the standards are high. But then you need, like you said, you need those guys who are willing to basically get everyone into the trenches. And Leicester is a team like every other team in the Premier League. There are cliques that exist, whether that is a personality thing or, simply friendships from previous clubs or whatever. But I mean, you get the likes of Papi Mendy, the role that he was in yesterday. He's essentially guarding the entire midfield at times, and in the way that we were playing and being quite positive. But he's a quiet man. He's not outward. He is quite reserved. And I think when you're in when you're in a battle, a proper battle like that, I don't know. You'd want to look to your midfield as being someone that's going to really pick it up and go. But yeah, we've got to pick it up in the next few games. Rodgers, I think. I don't know, because it's such a polarizing thing, isn't it? I don't necessarily put myself firmly in one camp. I think I'm going to be very diplomatic and keep a foot in both.
You're sitting on the fence, aren't you? You're sitting on that fence, leg either side.
I am getting splinters quite firmly. But I think that I can certainly see the reasons why. It's not that I don't understand that. I definitely do, and I'm definitely very concerned about it. But would it change things at this point? Is it? I don't. That's what I can't quite work out.
I mean, it's like Patrick says. It's that bad. We need Forest to beat Everton today. I mean, that's bad. When Leicester fans, especially Patrick is a hardened Foxes fan, and for him to say something like that, well, that takes nerves of steel for Patrick to say that.
One of the signs of the apocalypse.
But we're actually looking at that kind of situation now. We've got to be looking over our shoulders and see what other teams are doing, which is absolutely awful. The one thing I do want to say about the leadership and stuff like that, and I've always said just recently, there's been no passion, no fight, no spirit, whatever you want to call it. That penalty save yesterday, normally you'd have thought, oh yeah, that's great. But I was jumping up and down here, I was over the moon. But it galvanised Southampton, and you heard the fans get on the back of them, and they were up for it. And Leicester were just like nothing. Since that penalty save, it just went tits up from there, didn't it?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, how often do you see a team concede a penalty and then turn it around? Momentum swings in their favour, and that was what was very surprising to me as well. In that actually we somehow got worse. It was like there were the sort of the midfield suddenly became completely open. But I do think we are such a confident side, and we've got so many players that do play on confidence. I think Harvey Barnes is the biggest proponent of that, in that when he's on song and when he's feeling it and he's, things are going well for him, he's almost unplayable at times. I think you look at certain games we've had this season and he's torn defences to shreds. But when he's under the pressure and the team's under the cosh, Barnes struggles a little bit. I mean, yesterday was abysmal, and I'm one of his biggest supporters. I really do think he could be an excellent player, but he was very, very poor yesterday. But that confidence and that belief is something that does have to stem from the manager. He has got a responsibility to be there for his players and to make sure that they are heading in the right direction. And I know Rodgers gets a fair bit of stick for essentially just sitting on the sidelines and doing this. But you don't, what goes on behind closed doors, you're not sure. But that is where the responsibility ultimately lies.
I mean, you've been in and around the media. He's not a teacup thrower like people like Martin O'Neill would be. There's no confidence when someone's just standing there writing notes in his little black book. And what does he do at half time? I mean, you see like Guardiola and Klopp and Arteta and Conte running down the touchlines. Nigel Pearson would fight for his players. Martin O'Neill, the enthusiasm coming from the touchline for him, from them. We don't, when like you say, when O'Neill, that's old school, sorry. When Rodgers is just going like, yeah, well done. And he's even smiling when we're losing as well. It just doesn't show the motivation from the sideline, does it, Jamie?
No, I mean, I think that a comment that was raised yesterday on Twitter, which I thought was quite interesting, I can't remember who it was that Rodgers is an excellent man manager and a very good man manager when things are going well. And in terms of taking confident players and then taking them on to the next step and getting more out of a team that's doing well, I think he's very good at. And we've seen that in the last few years. When the momentum is with us and when we are on song, I think that he's very good at that. But you're right, this is a situation that he's not been in, really, for a long time. This is new territory for all the players as well, really. There aren't, well, that I can think of off the top of my head immediately. It's uncharted territory, but you'd also hope that his backroom staff can play a part in it. I know there are players that people like Mike Stow, who are essentially a fabric of the club at this point, who he'll be relying on. But like I said, ultimately, you can't blame your staff. You are the man in charge, and you have to take some responsibility for it.
It's like Richard Oliver said, the motivation should come from the fans as well, be the 12th man. But if there's nothing coming from the pitch, then how can the fans? It works both ways, doesn't it?
I understand that. I definitely understand his point, because something that I thought was very interesting before the Arsenal game was how flat the atmosphere was pre-kickoff, where I was sat anyway, which is, I sit towards the Kop on the east stand when we go down to games, and I was sat there thinking, this is strange, because against Spurs it was buzzing at the start, and you can really feel that the fans are up for it and that there's a good vibe.
I was at the Spurs game, and I thought, bloody hell, what's this? I've not felt this for ages. The atmosphere was unbelievable.
It certainly was. It was the best it has been for quite some time. But I think that the impact that has from the start. I mean, the news obviously came out that Maddison was ill, and we know the impact that he has on a team like Leicester, and we know that Arsenal were, a team on song and a very good side, and I can understand the trepidation, but I couldn't quite get my head around why it was as quiet as it was, and that does have an impact. There's certainly a responsibility for the players to give the fans something to cheer about, absolutely. But Leicester fans, I think, over the years have been excellent at backing their team, even when things are going terribly. I think we actually had a reputation for sticking through them. Because, I mean, like yourself, Jamie, I've seen some pretty turgid stuff at Leicester throughout the years. I know it's bad now, but my God, it was worse before. So let's not bring that up again. I'm only just over it all. But and even so, Leicester fans coming out in the numbers, getting behind the team. And I think that it's such a cliche, but yeah, the 12th man is going to be very, very important.
It is. Gray Richardson's asked a point of, it's about motivation, really. Question for meaning you. Name one player who has improved, apart from Maddison, because he has improved under Rodgers. But if you look at the whole squad, another player that has improved under Rodgers, and one that's gone backwards, I think the whole team's gone backwards, to be honest. But I can't name one player that's improved. Hopefully you can be a bit more positive than me this morning, Jamie, after yesterday.
It's interesting. I mean, because if you'd asked a year ago, I think that there were quite a few players that he'd had an impact on. I thought that indeed pre his injury was significantly better. I thought his use of the ball had been very good. He's come back looking like a shell of that player. Like, use of the ball yesterday was typically Indeedy-ish. Harvey Barnes is another one who I thought he had improved. Barnes' biggest issue, I think, this year has been the lack of support. He doesn't work well when he's the only outlet. But I genuinely thought that he had been better. But you're right. I mean, you look throughout the squad that started the game yesterday. Castagna, arguably certainly not at his pomp. That's for sure. I think Callum has just raised a good point about Mendy. I think that's very fair. He's
probably just behind Maddison how he's improved, to be honest. But other than that, there's not many.
No, not really. I think that the one that I'm desperate for him to get a hold of and try and sort out is Grismby Hall, because you can't fault the guy for effort, for work rate, and he does have moments of quality in him, but his touch yesterday, it was every time it went to him, it's trampoline touch, it was going off all over the place. And we know he's better than that. That's what I can't quite get my head around. But again, that's either he's been put in a position that he's not comfortable in, he's been instructed to do certain things, or quite simply, he's feeling the pressure, because I think there'll be a lot of them feeling it.
I think with the players like KDH, Barnes, Thomas, being a Leicester lad, being Leicester lads, I think they will feel the pressure the most.
Yeah.
Because they know their fans. I mean, when you see Grismby Hall score or celebrate a goal, he is like one of us celebrating a goal on the pitch. Here's what we want to do. I mean, I had Ian Birchin on last week, who's actually a Leicester fan, who's managing clubs, Forest Green and Notts County and in Norway as well. And he's doing what we want to do, manage clubs, because we can't play. And it's the same. Them three should be leading from the front. But I don't know, has the life been drained out of the club, the players and the fans by Brendan Rodgers now? The first 2 years, Jamie, you've got to agree, were fantastic, weren't they? We played football. And then for the last 2 years, since we've won the FA Cup, it's not gone too well, has it?
No, I mean, and I certainly agree with Rodgers' assessment that we didn't get the investment we needed it. I mean, you look at the Premier League now, and it's my dad likes Simone about modern football being rubbish in this regard, but money is just so important. It's very sad, and I don't agree with it, but it's simply put, if you don't invest well, then you struggle. The league is so competitive. And I know that we had a couple of poor transfer windows. The players that we did sign until January hadn't been great. And then to have no investment in the summer at all, at a time when it was quite clear that we needed it, I think he was hamstrung from the start. And then to lose a few players with injuries. But these are the same old excuses. That's the problem. It's becoming a bit tired to just sort of blame it. At some point, you have got to get on with the tools that you've got. I mean, the team that we put out yesterday was good enough to win that game. There's no doubt about it. You've got quality players in there. And from my point of view, I know you're going to talk about the game a little bit later, but from my point of view, I think that we should have won it. We were the better team for 75 of the 90 minutes. I think we created the better chances. And for some reason, we didn't take... There were 5, to my memory, that I think we had a good chance. We should have scored at least 2 goals yesterday.
Like Aggie's just said here, I'm getting to the stage now I can't be bothered to go anymore, but I know I will because it's in my blood. Yes, I'm sort of falling out of love with it a little bit as well, but I've been going since 1977 and it's there in me. It's stuck in me. And I'll be there ever and a day until my last breath. But it's just very much hard work watching them at the minute, isn't it, Jamie?
Yeah, that's why we talk about it now, and it's a hugely emotive thing, and I can completely understand Aggie's point about feeling like you don't really want to get going down there at the minute because they're not giving you a huge amount to cheer about, which I do understand. So, I mean, in terms of trying to find some semblance of optimism, I'm struggling a little bit because one of the highlights I thought of the season was the signing of Christensen, who I thought was... They've unearthed a proper gem in him because not only has he got a lot about him, he is bothered. So you talk about leaders and players that are going to motivate. He was a big loss yesterday.
Yeah, huge loss.
I think, and to be out for 4 weeks as well, if with his ankle injury is at a very important time is a bit debilitating for us. But I think that he was certainly a positive from the season. But you've got to look at the team in isolation and think, on paper that they're good enough, and you're coming up against a couple of teams. We're going to have chances again, and on another day, results will go our way. But they've got to we're getting too far into the season now to keep saying that, because we've said that after Fulham, after Leeds, after quite a few games. United somehow losing that 3-0 still perplexes me. But we've really got to pull something out of the bag soon.
I mean, it's like we haven't now scored for 3 games now. The last 3 league games, that is. The last 2 games we played 180 minutes. We've had no shots on target. It was the 6th game in the row that we've conceded the first goal. And then as soon as it happens, that, like you said, talking about confidence, the players have just shot it. We've got to stop conceding that first goal, haven't we? Against Spurs, like you said, the atmosphere, and it was just they scored first, but then we came back and played, scored 8 goals, and then we've scored no goals in 3. We scored 8 in 2, and then none in 3 in the league. I don't know. It's just like Rodgers turns a switch. He says, "Oh, that was okay. Now we'll play this way." It just changes it completely.
Yeah, I think since January he's changed the shape, and he's taken that midfield cover out and then put Maddison in that number 10 role, put him further forward, and we are more open. But he is trying to make the best of the players. So, and I do agree with the shift in shape, because it gets Tete and Barnes high up the pitch. It gets support around Iheanacho, which you need if you're going to play him. And it crucially puts Maddison in the position that he's most dangerous. But the downside with that is that you do lose that cover, which is why Dewsbury Hall and Mendy, when they're in that position, their use of the ball is so important, because if they lose it cheaply, if they're pressed and they give it away, we're under pressure, which you've seen quite a few times with Dewsbury Hall in particular. But if you look through the last 2 league games against, if you take the Arsenal game out of it, where I thought that was a bit of a, you're playing a team that are chasing the title, and ultimately I thought we defended quite well, considering. But if you take the Man United game and the Southampton game just gone, realistically we should have scored 4 goals at least in those games. We were a De Gea worldy performance that he somehow only saves against us, and the woodwork and just complete brain fades from a couple of our strikers away from scoring 4 or 5 goals. They're creating chances. It's not like I know we go through periods of the game where we keep the ball. The guys who sit behind me just keep passing. They get infuriated that we pass it back in sideways, and I do get that. But we do have to. We can't go hell for leather all game. We haven't got the squad. We haven't got the sort of the setup to be like that, I don't think. And you do have to try and manage the flow.
It's the starts. We have such slow starts in the games. I mean, like Bournemouth yesterday. Bournemouth scored after 9.1 seconds. And it took Arsenal, they went 2-0 down, didn't they? It took Arsenal to the 70th minute. And I think if we'd gone that way at the start and gone for 15, 20 minutes and really gone for them, we probably got something out of it. And the Spurs, and against Spurs, which is what we did, Against Man U, we did that, but we didn't score. It's just that we don't seem to take a chances when we're on top, and the other team seemed to come back into it. And then, like, you just knew what was going to happen. I think every Leicester fan in the ground and watching the TV knew yesterday what was going to happen. You knew we were going to concede a goal.
Yeah, there's a sense of inevitability about it. I mean, I was talking to my brother-in-law before the game, and he said, well, whatever happens today, we're going to have to score at least 2 because we will concede today. And it's like, yeah, I mean, he makes a really good point for once. And that is the state of where we're at the minute. I think that Fars in his style of play doesn't work without cover in front of him, because he is rash and he does want to make that tackle. And poor old Suter yesterday, half the time, he's looking around and going, "What, like, lads, where you got any danger? Where you gone?" And I think that is a bit of an issue. But again, I think Rodgers is trying to make that gamble and trying to balance a bit of attacking play with keeping yourself open at times. And it is a gamble that's not working at the minute, but I'm not really sure how he changes it from here. I know that someone should comment saying playing 4-4-2, but this isn't probably Mike Bassett, England manager. I don't really see how that works with our squad, but it's a fair point. I mean, just trying something different might be the way to go, but ultimately, I think we've done that. The performances are so close to being there. They are individual mistakes or individual performances, I think, away from nearly being there.
I know, like I said earlier, it's not Rodgers' fault we didn't score the goals. I think it's Rodgers' fault the style of play we are playing. Yes, we are still making chances, and it's confidence, but I think you need a lot of confidence by motivating from Brendan Rodgers. So I'd be more disappointed if we weren't making chances. It was just disappointing how it was the last few weeks. We're not scoring them chances, where we used to be a team that used to score chances and then defend like beavers, as Chris Kamara would used to say, and keep the ball out of the net. But we just don't do that now, do we? That's why, and I think the pressure is on the top line, because the defence are trying to do the job, but as soon as they concede, the pressure is on them strikers all the time.
Yeah, and I do think that in losing what was one of the most efficient strikers in the Premier League, in Vardy, who has fallen off to some degree, I think it's fair to say. I will never have it in me to speak too negatively about Vardy because of his status. But I mean, I think it's fair to say that he's not the player that he was a season or two ago.
But is that because we're not playing in his style of football anymore? Because how many times have we seen the through balls going through? Because I can't remember it at all this season. Maybe against Chelsea away. I
mean, he's had a few, and Vardy's missed a few as well of those positions. I think he's had probably 3 or 4 one-on-ones I can think of off the top of my head that he's not taken, or good chances. But no, you're right. I think we've had to evolve the style of play, because you can't play like that with Iheanacho. You can't play like that with Daka, I don't think, either, despite him having pace. I'm not sure that plays to his skill set particularly. And losing Vardy, but losing that one, that even if Vardy's not in a game, even if he's sort of hanging around the fringes and not really involved. I mean, there's the Sky Sports absolutely love the stat about him, the touches that he has in the game. And it was never really important. He'd come in every now and then, he'd keep it going, ticking over. But you just knew that if a chance fell, more likely than not, Vardy was going to take it. And I think losing that impact and that confidence from the squad has certainly had an impact. Sorry, I know this is certainly your role, but the comment that just came up about the Mrs. Vardy saga, you can't discount it completely. To have a player like Vardy, it makes me quite sad actually. But a player like Vardy, what he's achieved.
It's got to affect him, hasn't it? It has to affect him.
It's got to have it. You'd be mad to think it hasn't in some way. I think it's sad to see every time he comes on, that's the chant, the chant that he gets from opposition fans. It is a bit like, oh, crying out loud, that can't be helping. But Vardy of old would have taken that and gone, right, well, yeah, I'm scoring and I'm coming over straight into your corner with both hands behind my ears. But it's not quite happened for him this year, and I think that we've lost his goals and lost the confidence that gives us.
I think, I totally agree there. I mean, we've talked about the game, we've talked about the season. I did a poll on Twitter about Brendan Rodgers. I don't know. I know you work in the media, so I'm not going to ask you which way you voted or if you voted. I mean, I had 1,341 votes, 82.4% out and 16.4% Sorry, that's 83%. That's meant to be. Sorry, not 84, 82.4. Do you think that's about right? Do you think that's fair that 83% has said he should be out?
I can certainly see why people would say that straight after watching that game. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that it's, it highlighted everything that's wrong with us at the moment, like we talked about. So I can see that, and the result and the impact of that result is massive. And like we said about the momentum shifting and giving Southampton that hope, and we are getting reeled in again into that bottom three. So I can see why people would feel the need for change. I mean, there are still plenty of games left. There is time to change it. If a new manager did come in, I think that you've got to be careful though in terms of targeting a manager who can get you out of a relegation scrap is often different to the manager that can then take you and carry you up the league. And I can't think of anyone off the top of my head who would be able to sort of navigate both, if that makes sense.
Nigel Pearson.
I love Nigel, but please no.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I think that's more, but we need to find a fight, don't we?
Yeah, no, certainly do. I think that I'm not saying that things don't need to change in some way, because they definitely do. Because look at league position speaks for itself. But yeah, I mean, it's not up to, but that it's also the classic retort of who would we bring in. It's not up to the fans to find the manager. I do understand that. It's, that's why there are people at the club getting paid a huge amount of money to manage it and to make those right decisions. But I think that we've got to, keep the faith is such a classic line that Leicester have heard over the years, and it's meant so many different things. But the owners haven't steered us wrong so far, and I think you've just got to rely and hope that they can carry on making the right decisions.
It's like you said, the fearless Foxes never quit. That seems to have gone, hasn't it? It seems to have gone now. When we had the Great Escape season, it was great because the Foxes never quit. Even the first 10 games when we won the title, it was Foxes never quit and fearless Foxes. But then it's just dropped off completely now, hasn't it? There's no identity now, like Craig has just said, Mr. Sixes has just said. Rodgers has stuck the passion and the life out of our team. We haven't got an identity now, have we?
Yeah, I can sort of agree. I agree with his point in that, there's not a clear, if you say what are Leicester all about, there's not necessarily that clearly defined answer to that. But I do feel like that is because we are in such a transition. You think about where we are now, the squad that we've got, what we're trying to do, that this is a team that is going to be unrecognisable in a year or two, regardless of which league we're in. Let's assume things go okay and we're in the Premier League. The summer is going to be huge for the direction of the club. There's going to be a lot of players leaving. Martin Glover, who is head of recruitment, is excellent, but he is going to be a busy man. The pressure is on, but the problem with Leicester, which I've said over the years, is that we are the position of where we're in. We have one bad transfer window and it hamstrings us completely. You look at Vestergaard, the Bertrands of that. You get those signings wrong, and we struggle. But other teams, they don't have the same jeopardy. They can just chuck money at the problem again and say, "All right, we'll reset and go again." I'm talking about the big six mainly. But Leicester's transfer windows, the pressure on them to get it right is tenfold the difference. You've got to be getting the right signings and got to hit the ground running. So I think that this summer will be, whether who's in charge will be busy. I'm not sure. Bringing the Clappers back could be one of the bigger signings they make. Sure,
but at least it got a bit of energy into the crowd as well.
Yeah,
No, I wasn't a big fan of them, and in my bar I've got loads of them that people have bought me over when they come on holiday and that. But at least the noise from it. I know it's a bit annoying, but the noise, it made a noise and it made the crowd, made something in the ground.
Yeah, they've got to have something to clap about.
You are.
Got to have something to clap about, I suppose. But I know. Yeah. I agree. Every little is going to help. But I mean, because I think the addition of the singing section, I sit like right next to it. I've enjoyed that. I think that's made a big difference when things are going well. But yeah, they've got to be giving everyone something to get behind. I think we get a spark and we get a couple of results, because there are certainly parallels to be drawn with the Great Escape season in terms of not necessarily the performances, but the way that we have been close in games and just not taking our chances, because that was what categorized the first 3 quarters of that year, was that we were actually playing all right. We were losing games here and there by a single goal where you're looking at going, I don't know, how have we not got a result out of that again? But when it clicked, we were like, it was having that. I mean, Pearson was fantastic at bunker mentality and keeping everyone together and saying, right, it will go well, it will go well. So if Rodgers is the type of man that can do that, remains to be seen.
Yeah, I don't think he's that kind of manager. He's not that kind of player that will go in there. Like I say, I know they probably don't have teacups there anymore. It's probably isoconic drinks and stuff like that they all have nowadays. But yeah, Gary Writer says, win our home games and we should just do it. That's what I'm going to ask. That's going to be the last question I'm going to get you. We need at least 14, 15 points, don't we, to stay up? Are we going to stay up, Jamie? Take your blue tinted glasses off or put the blue tinted glasses on, whichever way you look at it. Are we staying up and where do the points come from?
I mean, it's $1 million question, isn't it? One which I don't think there's an easy answer to. I mean, I still think that we will. I think that we've made it unnecessarily difficult for ourselves and that it is certainly going to be desperate at times. And I know that this probably won't be an opinion that many agree with at the minute, but I do think that we've got enough about us to drag ourselves limp over the line, fall over, do whatever we need to do. I think there are enough players that can generate moments of quality. I think Maddison is going to be so important in this run-in. I think keep him fit and we've got a chance. It's because you saw yesterday, he created a few chances. He was running the show at times and he has got it in him to produce a moment of magic and just sort of, whether we deserve it or not, get us over the line. It's a lot of faith to put in one player. But yeah, you're looking at the likes of the West Ham game. That's massive. I think that the Chelsea game next week is huge because, again, there's not as much pressure on them in terms of an expectation for a result. But having the likes of West Ham, Everton, Bournemouth to come, there are 6 pointers all over the shop in terms of that run. And those are the crucial games, just taking points off of other teams as much as anything else. But our home form has got to be better. And I think that the other teams are struggling harder than we are somehow. You've got to look at it.
Sorry, Jamie. A lot of people have said there's 3 worse clubs than us. This has been said over the last 3 weeks. At this moment in time, today, at this moment in time, is there 3 worse clubs than us? I think
that there's definitely 2. There's certainly 2 teams in a worse predicament than us, I think. I know that we gave one of them 3 points yesterday, which is quite frustrating.
Well, we've actually given them 6 points.
Yeah, somehow they've done the double over us. I mean, we are the gift that keeps on giving. Welcome to Leicester City Football Club, everyone. But I think that we've certainly got the chance. It's in our hands still, which is important. I think we're not relying entirely on other people's results. And yet this is scraping the barrel so loud. But we are masters of our own fate at this point, which is really important from a mentality point of view. So go out against Chelsea, play. They're fragile at the minute. I know that they scraped to win yesterday, but they're fragile at the moment. And we can beat them if we play anything like we did against. Remember, it was only a few games ago that we tore Spurs and tore Villa to shreds. This is the same. Christensen aside, this is more or less the same team. Things have. I can't think of what has changed in that time, and drastically enough to make me think that we can't do that again. But we have got to they have actually got to do it and stop bemoaning excuses and saying we created enough chances. It's not going to fly anymore.
Yeah, I know. Jamie, it's been much appreciated. Thank you for joining on a Sunday morning. It's been great. We've had so many people, so many from the media come on that are Leicester. I didn't know there were so many Leicester fans in the media out there. It's been great hearing everyone's views and that today. I'm going to try and get some fans on now and see some Leicester fans and stuff like that. See what opinion they've got.
Yeah, I doubt that they'll have so many splinters from sitting on the fence like me. But yeah, it was a pleasure coming on. Have actually been to your bar as well, purely by chance.
Oh my God!
back in the day, stumbled upon it when I was on holiday with 2 Leeds supporting friends, and had a great time going in there. So
I didn't know that. That's the second one because we had Callum Boyle on from Joe Sports, and he said exactly the same thing to me.
I couldn't believe it when I walked around the corner and saw it. It was brilliant.
It's a small world, isn't it? It's a small world. Jamie, you'll have to come back next time because the beers will definitely be on me next time you announce it.
Take you up on it. But no, thank you very much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right, pal. Cheers, Jamie.
Cheers,
thank you. There's Jamie Thorpe. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Right, I'm going to put the link in for people if you want to come on and have a quick word, see what you want to say. Oh, blimey, that was quick. I think Jono's cheated here. Jono's come on. Jono was waiting in the background already. He knew what was going on. Here's young Reedy as well. Reedy and Tom. Reedy, I couldn't bring you on when Jamie was on because it would have been the three Jamies and that would have been really, really confusing. I can't hear you, pal.
I've only just woken up anyway, mate, so I'm all good.
All right, pal. Well, we'll just hold on a minute. I'll just drop you out. You go and wake up and get a cup of tea. I'm going to bring Nick in first, so I'll drop you out, pal. Morning, Nick. How are you?
Still peed off from last night.
We'll start with you, Nick, because we had Tom on last night as well. So come on then. Yesterday.
I couldn't come on after the review show last night, and I think Tom summed it all up perfectly on the review with Phil. I was that raging watching that, and Blackburn, and the Arsenal. There's no improvement whatsoever. We're going down. We're going down.
I totally 100% agree with you there. There's no passion.
I put in the comments when we were in the Premier League, was it 2003, 2004, when we had Les Ferdinand and Dickoff and all that lot. I'd argue that squad had more fight in it than what this squad has.
Yeah.
We're a sinking ship.
We are. We definitely are. Jono, are you in agreeing on that? We're sinking ship, or have you still got a little bit of hope left in you?
I'm not going to be on for long. I just want to. I don't know if we're going to get copyrighted for this.
Don't play anything. No, don't play anything, Jono. Sorry.
God's
the
sake.
Titanic theme.
No.
Yeah.
Do you know the AFT man Claude once said, the almighty man, it's time to go. That's all I can say. Yeah. It's time to go.
Are you doing song titles now, are you, Jono? It's time to go.
No, just it's time to go. Like there's nothing more you can do now for our club apart from just going downhill. Ever since the FA Cup final, he should have gone when we lost to Forest.
Yeah.
In the FA Cup.
Just one thing. This week's been a bit bad, and I had a joke about Charles earlier in the week. If you can think of a song title or a line from a song that makes this week how you feel, put it in the comments. Because I've got a couple already.
Hello,
I've got a couple. One of them,
my old friend.
One of them, it's a sad, sad situation. I'm not quite sure what song that comes from, but anyway, Tom, come on then, pal. I'm not going to ask you to sing. Nick, I'm going to let you go, pal. Because I've got a couple of others on behind waiting to come on. So cheers, Nick. Hopefully we feel a bit better next week for you, pal.
We won't.
See you later. I'm just going to bring Ryan in as well. Morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm all good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Tom, come on then, pal. Spill the beans. We all love you. The sense of reason, Tom.
Where do we start, boys? You know, I've calmed down a little bit from last night. I think I actually generally went to bed, and I think that's the angriest I've been in a long time watching Leicester. You know, even you can take losing, you can take, you know, the things aren't going well, but it's the mumbo jumbo constantly from Brendan Rodgers that, well, it was a good performance. Brendan was lost another game. You haven't scored another, you know, haven't scored in 180 odd minutes of football or hit the target. We've got no strikers that feel with confidence when they get in front of goal now because, you know, Patson Dakin's not near the level for the Premier League, sadly. Jamie Vardy, God bless his soul, he's on his way down. And yes, he's got 1.5 more seasons with us, and we'll enjoy what we can of him from being him winding up fans. And Nacho, what can you say? You know, if it's the Nacho the player at Villa Park and against Tottenham, you're loving it and you're thinking we've got the striker we need. But then against Arsenal, didn't really do much. Against Blackburn, he scored, and then yesterday was another off day. You know, you can't have that many chances in one game and not score. And then I was sitting there last night, and I got the squad up in front of me, and I generally sat there and went through that squad of players, and I generally feel what I said last night is true. The squad of players, it's just not good enough. You've got probably 13 players who are about Premiership quality. The rest of the squad going up, it's not being taken line now, it's just not good enough. Johnny Evans, not seen him play all season, paying a contract. There's no divine. Daniel Amati is a time bomb waiting to happen in defence when he plays at the time. Samari hit and miss all season. Patson Daka, nowhere near good enough for the Premier League. Nowhere good enough to, do Jamie Vardy's laces up, let alone think that he was going to be the next top striker. The hardest thing in football is to score goals. And at the moment in time, we have not got a goal scorer in that team, in my view. You can't rely on Madison to keep finding the goals for Leicester. Harvey Barnes, well, hit and miss at the best of times. And it's generally our biggest concern. We can have all the ball in the world, and you can have all the play in the world, and we can have all the extra play in the world and move that ball around so slowly. But teams are just going to set up how they did, Southampton did. And if you don't move the ball quickly, you don't win football matches. And if you don't take your chances, then what do you meant to do? At the end of the game, I said yesterday, Patson Daka is sitting on that bench, and this is a Rodgers signing. We're losing away, and he doesn't bring him on. That sums up what faith Brendan Rodgers hands in Patson Daka at the moment, in my view.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you think about... Yes, sorry, it is Ryan. Yeah, what do you think about yesterday?
Yeah. Well, I think Tom's absolutely nailed it with every word he just said, really. As he alluded to, Daka sitting on the bench throughout the whole game and brings in Didi on instead of him. I'm thinking to myself, really, Brendan, what are you doing? We're 1-0 down, and he brings a defensive midfielder on instead of a centre forward. I'm thinking to myself, this guy got any tactical idea on what he's doing? We're in the relegation battle. We need goals, and he brings on the defensive midfielder. I'm thinking, he's totally lost.
I agree with that, Ryan. Southampton were proactive. They were 1-0 up, and they brought 2 new strikers on at 1-0 when they were 1-0 up. And what does that say? All that we've done is swap Pratt for Barnes at half time, admittedly because Barnes was injured. But we're not proactive enough, are we, Jono? We don't take the initiative. We wait till the other teams do what they want to do, and then it's too late.
Have we made a substitution? Well, this is the first game, I think, all season we made a substitution before the 60th minute. And we're all gobsmacked. We're surprised we made a substitution before the 60th minute. Even if we lose, even if everyone in the whole world can see when the goal's going to come. Everyone. And we waited. When that goal is scored, that's when Brendan goes, okay, now I'll make a change. We all saw it 15 minutes prior. Why aren't we getting it done?
Yeah.
And even John, why was Madison playing on the left-hand side? I don't get it.
I think at that time, Ryan, we were trying to put square pegs into round holes at that time, pal, trying to get something out of it. I'm going to drop him out. I've been reading before he starts crying. He's got up early for us this morning. See you later, pal. Here's Reedy.
Hello.
Oh yeah, you're fully awake now after your long, exhausting trip.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. I'm glad I went. Brilliant.
Bit of a long trip, innit? A lot of people are talking about Tete, Reader. You were there more than we were watching it on the TV. You were there. Come on then. What's your thoughts on Tete?
I think in the first 30 minutes, I think he really did try and put an impact in the game. I still think out of all the players in the attack, I think he was the better player. But again, that shows when we didn't do anything. But for me, it's about Barnes. I think that's the first time Rodgers is actually seeing what we've seen all season. Well, not all season, but at times this season where Barnes is just absolutely doing nothing.
But
and at half time, he changed it.
Barnes went off because of an injury.
But he's probably our best change of the season because I think Pratt comes on and we play better in some aspects because Pratt's being a bit more aggressive on the ball, getting down the wings a lot more, and Barnes just doesn't know how to get down a wing.
Yeah, I mean, I love a bit deep in the middle of the park, but it has to be in the middle of the park. It can't be on the left-hand side or right-hand side.
Yeah, I agree.
You saw the wing link.
Dennis Pratt, when he's playing out there, he's a good player, but he's not good enough to be out there. He's more of a Tillemans kind of role than a winger.
I think
It's not affected though, is it? Really, you're putting him on the wing. It's not affected because one, he's got no pace, so he can't beat his man. What we saw millions of times yesterday when he got 1-on-1, he had to cut back and lay the ball back to Cassagna, or two, he got to the line and didn't know what to do with it, and he had 4 players in surrounding him, and he hopefully got a throw or he got it backwards. Just again, square pegs in round holes. You know what I mean? It does not work. As simple as that.
The biggest weak point for me yesterday, other than Barnes, was Castagna. Like, because he's playing on his wrong side as well, every single header he could have got, he absolutely didn't get. He missed every single header. I think when they scored, was it that? It was their actual goal, yeah, that Ward booted
only
it
scored
up.
one, Reader. You were there.
No, I know, it's because of the penalty. I was trying to think which one it was that made it happen, but the penalty, the goal they scored, Ward kicked it up. It was Castagna's head to win, and it came back off their player and straight into their attack, which again, it happened so many times yesterday. And for me, I don't see how Rodgers can be blamed for poor performances from players. I'm not trying to blame all the players, but it just doesn't help.
I tell you this, I'll put you in a minute, right?
Not exposed again.
I've got a question for you in a minute, Ryan. Hold on a second. Really, I keep saying this. Who installs the tactics into the players, into pre-season?
I get that, but he can only do a certain amount. He can only do a certain amount of that.
I know you can't blame...
Then it comes onto the pitch. It comes onto the pitch after that. He gives the
I know you can't blame
Rodgers to the pitch, and now they have to prove it.
I know you can't blame Rodgers for the missing of the chances. That's in the player's head, yes. But it's the tactics we play. We're 1-0 down, and we're still, pardon my language, still fucking about with it at the back again, playing this tippy-tappy fucking football side to side. We're 1-0 down. Do something different. Pump it upfield. Go long. This tippy-tappy
yes, but then you couldn't you say that if you're doing all that the moment you're 1-0 down, you could be increasing the likelihood of going 2-0 down.
You can't just sit back and wait and wait and wait. You've got to go for it. You've got to really apply some pressure, which is what we were doing yesterday. Ryan, quick question for you before I let you go. What have we got to do to change the situation we're in, and are we staying up?
I think for the games that are coming up, I think now we're going to have to. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I think the only alternative now is we're going to have to change the system and go to a back 3. And even if it means indeed he has to go into a centre of 3, then so be it. Why not just play with 2 strikers and play Madison in the 10 in behind?
Yes.
Say like Iheanacho and either Vardy.
You know what, Ryan? I don't understand why don't we don't play Soyuncu. Sorry, Ryan. I don't understand why we don't play Soyuncu in a back 3.
Yeah. When Rodgers is hardly
he's not cover
him at all. I don't think he advances him at all. I don't know why he does, but and answer to your question on whether we was.
Right, I'm just going to let you just very quickly because you're breaking up quite a bit. Just the last few seconds. Are we going to stay up, pal?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Are we going to stay up?
Yeah. Yes, only just.
That's right. Oh, wrong one. Right, Ryan, I'm going to let you go because you're breaking up a bit. So, cheers for joining. Oh, he's gone now himself. Right then, lads. Tom, we've sort of done yesterday to death now, haven't we? We've really ripped through it and we can't really talk about much more. We've just got to go onwards, upwards, haven't we? Really have. We've got to pull something out of the bag.
Yeah, but I also think the fans have now got to change the mentality a little bit. And I don't mean this is just saying don't worry about Rodgers. Obviously, worry about Rodgers. But for each 90 minutes now for the games, we've got to get behind the lads, even if it's not going well somehow. Because if we start making it a toxic atmosphere in the King Power on Saturday against Chelsea, then we might as well not turn up and we'll lose 4 or 5-0 before we start a game. Saturday, you have got to back the boys from the hill. Jamie's seen enough relegations. Other Jamie probably hasn't seen a relegation yet in his lifetime, bless him. I've seen enough relegations. And the way teams get out of relegation battles, what we saw in the Great Escape season, and that is by the fans making that King Power a raucous atmosphere, somewhere that away teams do not want to come to. We've got to somehow change that mentality that we go into the KP and we're expecting to lose or maybe get a point. We've got to expect to go there and try and do something. But that starts from the fans coming on and giving something. I know some will say the fans have got to be, get something from the players first. At the moment in time, we can't just wait for the players to give us something. We have got to get that behind that team on Saturday. Otherwise, we might as well put relegation, straight now, nail the coffin down and book our place back to the Championship, because if that stadium is toxic on Saturday, then we're doomed already, in my view. And for me, I go there Saturday. I'm not back there to back Rodgers. I couldn't care less about Rodgers now to the end of the season. I'm there to back the team. I'm there to back every single one of those lads who's wearing a blue shirt to put the effort in and make sure that we stay in the Premier League for another season. Because if not, it's one of those. We go back to the Championship. We saw how long it took us to get out for last time round, over 10 years, and it is not an easy thing to do. It took Pearson 3 years or 2 years to build the team to get us back out again. Teams don't always come back up. We've seen that before. So for me now, the fans need to put that anger and aggression towards Rodgers to one side and put that in to get him behind the team on Saturday. And they're my last words for me today. Get behind the team now, because if you want to go down, that's fine. Don't just have a go at Rodgers for the next 13 games and slate him and moan at the ground at him. If we want to stay in the Premier League, we've got to back the boys and to hopefully try and push us over the line to get those 5 wins that we've talked about.
Yeah. It's literally, you're backing the club. That's what you've got to do. Forget about Rodgers, back the club, back the players, really, isn't it? No matter what it is.
Exactly. You don't like Rodgers, fine. I don't like Rodgers. Can't stand the man now. His legacy is trashed. It doesn't matter about the FA Cup win. I couldn't care less about that anymore. If Rodgers had anything about him, he would have walked away when things weren't going well and taken it on the chin that it hadn't worked out. But no, he's stuck around. His legacy's gone. He's tarnished anything that he had. Martin O'Neill left at the time when he was going on to bigger things. We were gutted, but he left with still won big things at this club. Nigel Pearson, no one wanted him to go, but he left because of what he'd done for the club, and he all would be behind the man. Brendan's done an amazing job. He has done an amazing job. I'm not going to sit and say he hasn't. But what he's done now is completely tarnished anything that he had for the club by the 2 fifth-place finishes, the FA Cups, the European nights. They've gone down the pan now for that because of his stubbornness and the way he's turning towards the fans in this season and moaning. Anger like me towards him is not the time now. It's all about backing the players and trying to find these 5 wins.
Yeah. Hitash, I'm not actually trashing the club. I'm just having a pop at one person. It's as simple as that. I don't like this one person anymore. I would never trash the club. I always want them to do well. I'm backing the club. I'm backing the players. I just don't back Brendan Rodgers at the minute. I know that might sound strange, but I just don't like the guy. And I haven't liked him for a long time, but I'll always love Leicester no matter what. Tom, cheers for joining, and we'll let you go. And we'll see you on Thursday for your away fan show. Hold on, you.
Looking forward to another one of those with Chelsea fans, eh? Big game, and obviously the big talking point will be obviously Wesley Fofana coming back to the game.
It certainly will be. It certainly will be. We will see you through the week, Tom, and see you on Thursday, pal.
Cheers, all. Have a good day.
Cheers for joining, matey. Reader, come on then. Let's give your thoughts.
What can I say, mate? I'm trying my best to support, but like you say, we've just got to back the boys now. Like we as much as we said it was a 6 pointer last night. We all knew there was a chance we would lose because they're in the same Southampton are in the same situation as us. You can't deny that they needed to get them points, and against someone like us at the moment, you could probably see it happen, and obviously it happened. So now you've got to go to Chelsea, who aren't in the greatest form. Obviously, just beating Leeds, but they're still beatable. And they've still got quite a few games this season that are winnable. You've just got to put it out on the pitch and do it instead of doing what we did yesterday. So, like the other Jamie said, there's still enough games where I can see us picking up points. It's just if we perform on the days, and it's all about if we perform on the day. Because, like I say, we beat Spurs, we beat Villa with the same team as we played last night. So it's the same situation. You've just got to pick up these points in games where you need to be picking them up, like the West Hams, like the Chelseas.
So
maybe it's a bit less slightly, but.
It's like Mr. Sixiter says, it's not the losses, it's the manner of them that's causing the trouble. It's the same thing. We're making the same mistakes week in, week out. I don't mind Leicester losing. But it's the way we're losing is the problem, in my mind. But we've literally just got to pick up a what's that saying? Roll up a socks and carry on and get on with things, haven't we, Reader?
Yeah, I still think there's enough games in there to get the points. Like I say, realistically, you want 24, and if you're aiming for the 40 mark, what's that? 4 or 5 wins?
You need 38, 40 points at the minute.
It's about 4 wins then, 4 or 5 wins. So
4 or 5 wins will get us them points.
In the last how many games left? 13, 14 games. I think
13.
there is still 4 or 5 games in there for me that we could probably win or get a few draws out somewhere. So I know it's going to be tough, but you've got to just ride your luck. And like I say, when you're playing against Chelsea, you can't expect to win, but at the moment, there's a chance to win because the way they're playing. But again, it's Chelsea. They could turn up on the day and just beat us like Arsenal did. So,
yeah.
But there is the likes of West Ham that we should be getting the points from, like we should be getting the points from last night.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Scott, he can't do Sunday mornings, but we'll try and get him on another show. Right then, Reedy, we shall see you through the week, pal. Have a good week. Have a good week in Leicester Fan TV office.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
See you later. Be good. Be good. Well, it's been great listening, seeing all your comments. It's been absolutely fantastic. Just one thing to say: where no tint, where the tint's coming from, where the wind's coming from. Vardy as player manager. That would be. Yeah, I never thought of that. Vardy as player manager. Just one thing to say. I know I have a little bit of I'm not having a rant at the minute, but fans of a certain age of Leicester, we've always known we've been a yo-yo club. Too good for Division 2, not good enough to Division 1, beat the top teams, and always been a good FA Cup team. And we won it. We've won trophies in the last few years. But I've been in love with this club since 1977. I've seen the highs, the lows, ups, downs, round, side to sides, more side to sides at the minute. But the last 12 months, it feels like a bit like a divorce from the missus, and I'm finding it very difficult. I'm struggling. It seems like a bit of a breakup. I just want to get back to things how they used to be. And the only way I can see this happening is Brendan out, I'm afraid. That's the only way I can see this happening. Brendan has got to go. For me to start falling back in love with this club and making it easy to watch, I think Brendan has to go. On that note, it's ciao, ciao, adios, goodbye. Top of the morning to you. Come on, you foxes.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.